the Ben Shapiros of the world.
Yeah.
These people who don't necessarily have the intellect to have honest discussions, but but yet they're able to become millionaires because they're actually just circularizing and promulgating this fear.
There are many, many confounds when it comes to these particular issues. And unless you remove the statistical confounds, you end up with trying to blame vague, shadowy figures like implicit bias, which are innately, insanely difficult, if not impossible, to measure.
I don't know what he just said.
I'm sorry.
Brace yourselves, folks, because what went down on Bill Maher's show is nothing short of jaw-dropping. Picture this. CNN's Bakery Sellers tries to go toe-to-toe with Ben Shapiro and Bill Maher, only to get completely annihilated on live TV. The topic? Race relations in America, implicit bias, and some seriously wild comparisons to segregation-era America. What happens next? A masterclass in logic and composure as Ben Shapiro and Bill Maher tag team to dismantle every single one of Sellers' flimsy arguments. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more sharp insights and epic takedowns like this one. Did you subscribe? Awesome, let's get into it. It all started when Sellers, trying to dismiss Shapiro's analysis, launched into a tirade accusing him of using fear-mongering tactics for profit. He called out the Ben Shapiros of the world, claiming they lacked the intellect for honest discussion and instead profited off spreading fear. But here's where things got wild. Shapiro didn't just let that slide. Oh no. He calmly hit back, pointing out the statistical confounds in race-related discussions and the flawed logic of blaming vague and unquantifiable concepts like implicit bias. What was Sellers' response? A blank stare and an I don't know what he just said. Seriously, folks, how can you argue with someone when you don't even understand their point? It was like watching a student try to debate a professor without doing the homework. And just when you thought it couldn't get more absurd, Sellers decided to invoke his father's experience during the Orangeburg Massacre to claim that America in 2024 feels like 1954. That's when Shapiro stepped in to deliver one of the cleanest, most devastating rebutals of the night. He calmly dismantled the comparison, explaining that saying America today is worse than segregation-era Alabama isn't just inaccurate. It's an insult to the progress we've made. He drew a powerful analogy, saying, if I were to claim that the experience of Jews in America today is worse than Europe in 1939, that would be absurd. The audience was stunned, but Sellers wasn't done. He tried to pivot, claiming that Shapiro and Maher couldn't possibly understand his father's experience as Black Americans. Bill Maher wasn't having it. He firmly pushed back, saying, I don't need to be Black to see what's true and what isn't. Here's where Maher and Shapiro joined forces to expose the real problem: how the media manipulates facts to drive division. Maher brought up how Chicago's violent crime stats often get ignored, particularly the race of the victims. He questioned whether this omission was helpful or if it was a calculated move to protect certain narratives. Sellers tried to pivot yet again, blaming systemic issues and a lack of resources in communities. But Shapiro wasn't about to let him off the hook. He pointed out that single motherhood, cultural breakdowns, and crime spikes are critical factors that rarely get addressed. At one point, Maher posed a rhetorical question that left everyone speechless.
Well, all you have to do is ask my father, who literally was shot in the Orangeburg Massacre, right? Who helped found SNCC, who marched with Marion Barry and Stokely Carmichael and Martin Luther King, and the list goes on and on and on. And he will tell you today that he feels like this country's at 1954. And so if you want to talk about somebody...
But that doesn't mean it is. Well, you said he feels that way. That's ridiculous. It is. Come on.
I think the ridiculous notion is for either one of you all to have the audacity to believe that you understand what the experience is to be.
I have to object to that.
But you just said
I cannot talk about it because I am not part of a group. I am a sentient human being. You're right. There's two ways you cannot understand something. One is to be too far from it. We're too far from it. We can't see like you can. One is to be too close to something. And then sometimes you can't see it accurately either.
I'm not too close to something. I am that.
I know.
And so, but what I am saying though is for you to discount my father's experience and say that,
I'm not discounting it.
And to say it was silly.
I'm not.
No, he was shot.
No,
Were you shot?
No, but he's still alive. Like he's right here. Like
right, but the idea that if I were to say to you as a Jew that the experience of Jews in the United States today is worse than the experience of Jews in Europe in 1939, I would not be stating accurately.
Correct.
It's not true.
That's
and it's also not true to say that the experience of black people in America in 2024 is worse on a general level than the experience of black men in 1954 in Alabama. That's just crazy.
But I mean, I think...
Why is it that the media chooses to ignore certain facts if they don't fit the narrative? It was a not-so-subtle jab at CNN and other outlets that prioritize political agendas over objective reporting. Maher even joked about how sensitive the media has become, saying, "It's like walking on eggshells to talk about anything real without someone calling you canceled." What's the real takeaway here? Maher and Shapiro expose how race-baiting and selective outrage have become tools to silence honest discussions. Sellers tried to lean on emotional appeals and surface-level rhetoric, but in the end, facts and logic won the day. This wasn't just a debate. It was a wake-up call. If we're serious about solving real issues in America, it starts with having honest, uncomfortable conversations.
Over the 4th of July weekend, there's 109 people in Chicago who were shot, 19 fatally. That's a lot over a weekend.
Yeah.
And the race of the victims will not be reported. Is that helpful? And why is that? Why don't they report that? Let's have some real talk here.
And people want to make it a blue city thing. But if you look at the violent culture or the number of deaths or the rate of crime and violent crime in states like Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, South Carolina, Georgia, we have a problem. And we're just not doing a good enough job. But we also don't necessarily have the resources poured into our community to help lift those people up. I hate when people say, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and we don't have no damn boots.
I mean, I'll disagree with the last aspect only to the extent that I do believe that everybody in the United States has the capacity to get married, father kids, and stay with the family that they created.
Well, Donald Trump didn't.
I mean, and I disagree with that. And I disagree with that. It does, by the way, I should know, does not undercut the point at all, and you, I think, agree with me.
Well, I mean, I hear you, but I think where I would probably disagree with both of you guys is that we've never really evaluated the systems that we have in this country. I mean, most times when we talk about racism...
I just asked the question.
No. I'm bringing us together. I'm bringing us together.
If we're talking about single motherhood, for example, obviously the rate of single motherhood in the black community has increased from 20% to 7%.
Not shutting people down or blaming nebulous concepts. So, what do you think? Was Shapiro right to call out those false comparisons? Did Bill Maher hit the nail on the head about media hypocrisy? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear from you. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more explosive debates and sharp insights. This story isn't just a takedown. It's a reminder that facts still matter,